Good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. As was said, Brian Gales, Incident Commander for Northwest 13. Happy to be here to give an update on the fire situation on the Burdoin Fire here in Klickitat County. Our team arrived on Sunday evening, did a hot handoff, quick turnover on Monday morning at 0600. Current fire size is 11,249 acres, 13% contained. Approximately 900 folks, firefighters on the line. That's hand crews, engine crews, aviation assets, all working together to minimize the footprint of the fire, minimize the impacts to the values. Values at risk are the communities, community infrastructure, the electricity, water, etc. Other priorities for us are private lands, timberland, tribal lands, those type of things. So our folks are working on going direct with fire line control perimeter around the outside of the fire, continue to do structure triage and assessment, and picking up new initial attack fires like we did last night that quickly grew to 52 acres just northwest of Klickitat. With that, I'd like to recognize the folks that have been involved in the incident. I had delegation of authority from 8 different entities, 4 of those within Klickitat County, the Forest Service, the DNR, the host agency, the BIA, as well as, I am missing one other, DNR, BIA, Forest Service, and then the other, local government entities. I will say that our folks were able to do a structure triage for loss and damage. Yesterday, completed that. There are 44 structures unofficially that we were able to identify that were lost in the fire footprint. We're working diligently with the homeowners through the county emergency management officials to get folks in and start the recovery process. The Sheriff's Office, Klickitat County Sheriff's Office, has been instrumental in helping us with evacuations, with working with the public, with keeping people out of the fire environment. Washington DOT, incredible with keeping Highway 14 being closed, Highway 8 and 142. Big deal with commerce going in and out, traveling through the state, so that is a disturbance obviously to everybody. We're working as quickly as we can with Washington DOT to get those reopened and allow for some normalcy. That'll continue for the next 3 or 4 days. We'd also acknowledge the Red Cross and their effort to support the citizens, over approximately 1,000 folks that are currently evacuated. Red Cross is helping us to assist those individuals. With that, I'm going to turn it over to the governor, and I'll take questions at the end. Thank you very much.
Oh, that's right. Sorry. No. Dave, it doesn't matter. You want to go next, Dave? Yeah,
sure.
Go for it, yeah.
Good morning. My name is Dave Up the Grove, Washington State Commissioner of Public Lands. And in this role, I have the responsibility of leading the agency that oversees wildfire prevention and response here in Washington State. I'm here first and foremost to uplift and express my gratitude to the folks who are out there on the fire lines and leading this incident command. This is a DNR fire, but the work that's being done is multi-jurisdictional, and I want to thank the Brian Gales and the whole incident command team, as well as the folks who did the initial attack. There's a lot of partners working really hard, from the leadership at the Department of Natural Resources, and we have with us today our state forester, George Geisler. We have our wildfire division manager, Russ Lane, and our region manager, Scott McFarland, all on site today. The work these folks are doing is truly heroic. I think there's about 900 folks, maybe a quarter of those on the lines out there are from the State Department of Natural Resources. The Department of Natural Resources also is providing critical aviation support to this incident and are proud to do so. I think it's important for us to see these workers, recognize them, both the firefighters from all of the jurisdictions, as well as the support staff that make this all possible. And I know on behalf of the people of the state of Washington, we say thank you for the hard work they're doing. The other thing I'd like to talk about a little bit is the importance of prevention. We know that about 90% of wildfires in Washington state are human caused. And that means we all have a role to play to try to keep fires like this from happening in the first place. That means making sure your campfires are out cold to the touch. It means making sure that you aren't dragging cables behind your chains behind your vehicles that can spark, and to be careful and safe to make sure we reduce the impact of human activity that causes these fires. We also make critical investments in the state of Washington that help prevent and reduce the spread of these fires. The legislature has made investments in past years that allowed us to have these aviation equipment. We also have invested $500,000 in recent years creating fire lines around white salmon, fuels reduction, and fire breaks. And this prevention and preparedness funding keeps us safe. It's a core function of government public safety. And we're going to be okay this year with wildfire response. But due to some painful cuts from the state legislature, if next year's supplemental budget does not restore some of that funding, we're going to see more fires like this, and they're going to be larger, and they're going to cost the taxpayers a lot more money in the back end. So as we reflect upon the ongoing challenges we're facing in responding and soon recovering to this fire, it's a good time to think about the importance of prevention and preparedness as well. We are really honored today to host the governor of the state of Washington. I think your commitment to coming here shows that you're committed to the entire state, and we value the emergency management division, and this is an all-hands response. Our response has been strong. The work that's being done by the leaders on the ground has been effective, and we really appreciate the governor being here. It's my honor to introduce the governor of the state of Washington, Bob Ferguson.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Thanks so much, Dave. Thanks to all of you for being here. First, I want to say, Brian mentioned we'll be having Brian come back up to help answer questions, of course, with the team. But obviously, a number of Washingtonians have been really impacted by this fire, and so our hearts go out to them. We so deeply appreciate everybody who's helping those individuals. I think, Brian, you mentioned the Red Cross, for example, and many other volunteers and support staff who are just trying to make things as comfortable as possible for those Washingtonians who are under a lot of stress right now, and some facing some loss. And so we're very mindful of that. Number two, everybody here who's fighting this fire, we're just so deeply appreciative of the work that they do, the long hours they're putting in, the very difficult terrain that they're operating under. It's so deeply appreciated from the first moments the fire started, the local folks, volunteers out there, and additional resources coming in, really from all around the country, is deeply appreciated. So, on behalf of the state of Washington, we just so appreciate those individuals and their sacrifice and their bravery in going out there to fight this fire. The only other thing I'll add, I think, is we had the chance to get a briefing, pretty detailed briefing from the folks here who are leading the response, and it's my first summer as a governor. Okay, so my first time at a location like this, and so truly to see the level of coordination, the level of organization, the level of partnership, I'm not surprised. But I would want Washingtonians to know it's deeply reassuring to me as a governor to see that. Again, not surprised at the professionalism, but it's impressive. This is a big, complex operation, as you might imagine, but that came through loud and clear. So many agencies, so many governments. We have legislators here, we have local government officials, we have the responders, you name it. It's very, very impressive to see that level of coordination. One of the questions I asked was, hey, is there more that we can provide as a state to help on the resources? And it sounds like at this time, that they've got what they need, but obviously we're very mindful of that. We're in continuous conversation around that just to make sure they have all the resources they need. We appreciate that recent investments from the legislature are helping in responding to the fire right now. But this is a reminder, as Dave said, of the need for those resources, and they're truly making a big difference right now as we understand it from the experts here on the ground. So it's a privilege to be here to interact and hear from the folks who are doing the hard work, protecting our communities, and it's just really, really deeply appreciated. So, Brian, we're going to have you come back up, and I know we have other folks. Feel free to come up if you're going to be helping with questions. Don't be shy, right? We've got a number of folks come back up. Well, Dave, one more from you, but feel free to come
As
on
he
up.
comes up, he noted we do have some other leaders with us, and we're really honored to be joined by Senator Harris and Representative Stevie, your local legislators who've been attentive and responsive, and you're fortunate to have experienced, strong local leaders here as well.
All right, you got me back. I would start off with, when John and I come in, our ops chief, John Spencer right here, we really look at relationships, organize, stabilize, and control. And we work through all the local entities, all the agencies that are responding to provide a strategic plan for minimizing the footprint and values at risk, threat to values at risk. So with that, questions?
Your Oregon's right across the river. How is that relationship going? What kind of resources are you getting? How is it working out?
You bet. We get resources through the nationally. So as was mentioned by either Dave or the governor, 25% probably of Washington resource from Washington DNR. Lots of contracted resources, lots of federal and local government resources coming from across the country.
Is the state providing any support for the fire victims?
I can assure you that the local emergency management department through the county, through Clickatack County, is working closely. The sheriff's office is working closely with those that are displaced currently, working through the Red Cross and other volunteer organizations to ensure those people are getting timely information, getting food, water, shelter, that sort of thing. Yes, that's occurring.
For the governor, we can't go to any of these press conferences without federal budget being brought up and
Right.
federal resources.
Yes.
Are you getting any help? Is there anything coming that way? Are you being shorted? Anything on that?
So we were working with the federal government, have a request in, so those conversations are ongoing right now as we assess the total amount that's impacted from a budget standpoint. But yes, those conversations are going on. If others have more details, happy to share that. But so far at this point, everything's been good on that side, and we hope that continues. And to your point, look, what's going on here isn't about politics, right? We just all get together, come together, help address the situation, help the Washingtonians who are impacted, fight this fire, get it resolved. And everything I'm seeing so far, and I want to be clear on every level, from the local government to the state to the federal, so far what I'm hearing has all been very, very positive. I deeply appreciate that.
What's been the biggest challenge of fighting this fire thus far, and what's the biggest challenge that remains in terms of increasing containment?
I'm going to let our operations section chief, John, speak to some of those details.
And can you give your name and spelling?
Yeah, my name is John Spencer, and I'm the Operations Section Chief for Team 13. And as far as the biggest challenges, it seems like it's a broken record when I go to fire, and that is steep, rugged, rocky terrain, dry fuel conditions, and then the weather. And tonight we're already expecting a gust up to 35 miles an hour that will test our lines. And so just the alignment of all that, the conditions of our forest, have all played into that hand. Over these fast-moving fires are difficult to stop and control, but a lot of great efforts. And I want to rehash what was said earlier. The aviation assets from the State Department of Natural Resources, in my experience, I'm a federal employee, but that cooperating agreements that we have set up throughout the state with all of our regional areas has been dramatic. That aviation support on this fire and others that I've been on has been fantastic in the last 2 to 3 years that has helped us catch a lot of these fires.
I would like to add one thing to what John just said. The 900 firefighters that I spoke to, those men and women, they are taking a great deal of short-term risk to go after this fire direct in those tough areas so that we don't have long duration exposure to firefighters, to the community, etc. So kudos to those firefighters for being willing to engage in the areas where we think we'll have the highest probability of success, taking on that task and that responsibility to oversee, doing those tactical operations to secure the fire line.
Speak to what it takes to be a firefighter here in this area fighting this fire. For folks that live in major metropolitan areas, they might not ever see a scene like this where firefighters are literally camping and then going to fight the fire for days, weeks on end. Just speak to what it takes to be out here fighting the fire.
Well, it takes fortitude, mental fortitude, because over a time of 14 days when you're fighting fire and you're sleeping on the ground and you're putting in a 14-hour day on the average, and you're fighting in a hot condition and dirty environment, and you get fatigued over time, but mentally you keep going because you want to serve your community that you're here in, and the support that we've been getting from the community bolsters and gives us that motivation to get out there and do the job. And then the professionalism in the ranks of all of our firefighting. Our county resources that responded initially had a tough job before they were even able to get resources, and the efforts and they extended their hours, many hours beyond normal, to continue that operation. So it's just cumulative, but it's what we train for and it's what we desire to do. And it's very rewarding in the sense that we can help out and serve and stop fires and keep, as Brian said, we elevate a little bit of our risk to the few so that the many aren't part of that risk exposure. And so just great desire to serve, I would say, is a driver.
Maybe for Commissioner Upthegrove, this area is really well known for the Gorge National Scenic Area. Can you talk about the extent of the damage to that area and if you're anticipating any sort of support to help that recover?
Yep, well, that scenic area is a federally designated scenic area, and I've not yet been in communication with our federal partners on that topic. So the incident command can speak to the damage that's occurred better than I can, but I imagine following completion of the incident, we'll be in communication about how can we best partner in all of the natural resources recovery, not just in that scenic area, but one of the roles the Department of Natural Resource plays is in post-response recovery work on the natural resources side. Our geology folks will be helping make sure we're reducing the risk of landslides and mudslides, and we'll be helping with revegetation and replanting. And in the case of the scenic area, I'm sure we will be cooperating with our federal partners.
Do you have any information on the origin of the fire at this point?
Origin of the fire was near a road. Causes remains undetermined.
And can you might have said this already, but containment, where are we at right now?
Currently at 13% as of last night. We want to get through the wind event today, hot, dry, and super windy, as John mentioned. Get through that, allow the firefighters a few more days to do the mop up, get in there and really root through everything and start putting out the fire edge, where they can, up to, we're looking for 100, 200 feet of depth so that we don't have fire escape over that control line. So that's an ongoing effort, that just takes time. It's very methodical. We can't miss any, or we have things slide out of the line.
Are you anticipating this fire to merge with the other one?
No, not at this time.
Ballpark, how many firefighters units do you have on? Do you know?
Yeah, there's approximately 900 firefighters on the ground as of today. Aviation assets are many, with very large air tankers, scoopers that scoop water out of the river. At least I know three Type 1 helicopters, the very large ones. Were flying that new fire yesterday, so we're set up well with aviation assets.
And for the folks that have been evacuated that are probably getting anxious about seeing, the status of their homes, what message for them, when may they be able to come back and get eyes on how things stand for them?
You bet. Good question. We are working directly with Klickitat County Emergency Management as well as the Sheriff's Office. I believe some of that has begun, and we're working closely to ensure those people are able to assess their properties prior to opening up and reducing evacuation levels. Certainly, evac levels are driven by fire activity and exposure to the public as well as the firefighters.
Do you know how many people are currently evacuated right now?
Rough estimate, visiting with the sheriff, we're approximately 900-ish that are evacuated.
Okay. I guess the last thing I'll just add is on some of the questions were asked me about the individuals and the impacts. One thing I just want to emphasize is during the briefing we had, there was a big focus from the folks briefing myself and the lands commissioner about exactly those things, right? That they were very focused on the impacts, trying to help out homeowners. Folks have been evacuated, trying to get folks back to their property when appropriate to assess things. Making sure, hey, when folks are able to come back, that there's power, that there's water. So I just want to communicate to the people of the state that is very much a focus. That came through loud and clear. I didn't have to ask about that. That was something that they were very focused on. So again, just as we wrap up, so deeply appreciative of everybody who's here, everybody who's out there fighting this fire at many different levels. And and it's deeply, deeply appreciated. And I so appreciate, Brian, you guys, the entire team here has just been, so impressive, and I just really appreciate everybody's strong efforts. And thanks to you for being out here today. Really, really appreciate it. Dave, anything you want to say before we wrap up?
No.
Thanks so much, everybody. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.